Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and my November reading wrap up. First of all, I got a haircut. I had been getting a lot of headaches and my hair was getting so long it just didn't feel like me. And I didn't really know what hairstyle was me, so I'm trying something different and we'll see how it goes. But also it cracks me up every time I go any shorter than like here because my hair just naturally falls, like both sides fall this way if I don't straighten it. And I just think that's so funny, the personality my hair has. Okay, this wrap up might be a bit all over the place because I know I've said in my last few videos that I've been in like this weird reading slump type of situation, and it is decidedly improving, but it is still there. So did I even write notes about what I'm about to say today? No, I didn't. I made notes for my reading stats, and past that, no. So let's hope that I can remember all the details of the books that I read in November and can adequately summarize and wrap them up. Okay, in the month of November, I read a grand total of 6 books, which was a total of 1,636 pages. The longest book that I read was 560 pages, and the shortest was 135. 2 books were hard copy, 4 were audiobooks, and 5 of those were from the library or Libby app, and 1 of them I purchased. Okay, in chronological order, the first book that I finished was The Woman They Could Not Silence, and the subtitle is One Woman, Her Incredible Fight for Freedom, and the Men Who Tried to Make Her Disappear by Kate Moore. I listened to this on audio, and I almost DNF'd it multiple times, not because it wasn't good, but because it was so heavy. This book is a true story, and it takes place around 1860, or at least that's when the story starts. And it's about a woman named Elizabeth Packard, and she is a married woman. She has 6 kids. The problem is she has some opinions, and she enjoys writing. She likes to write, to express herself, to think about different viewpoints, and to make her voice heard. The problem with that is her husband does not appreciate that. Her husband is a pastor, and some of her viewpoints may not always line up directly with her husband's. And at the time, it was very easy for women to be sent to what was then called insane asylums. And all it took was a letter or note from a husband to say, my wife is insane and she needs to be admitted to the hospital. No investigation, no trial. She's just put in the asylum. In the asylum, there are lots and lots of other women who are there for the same reasons. They had an opinion and they were using their voice and they were put in an asylum by their husbands. Now, the conditions in this insane asylum were horrible. There was a lot of abuse. She thought she could trust one of the doctors there, and she was doing her best to prove that she was mentally sound, that she was not insane as her husband was claiming. The abuse was really hard to read. The level of manipulation from the doctor and from the people who were supposed to be there for making sure that laws and everything were carried out correctly, the gross injustice done to people, the unchecked power that husbands and men had, the unchecked power that the workers in the asylum had, the unchecked power that the authorities, the police, had. It's a very, very heavy read, but it was also a very good one. She fought back. She did not allow her voice to be silenced. She continued to write as she was able, and she fought for herself and for her kids. But it's definitely one that just know if you're going to read it, it's very heavy. Maybe read some trigger warnings, but also it was a good read, an important read. Book number 2 was The Other Dashwood Sister, a Jane Austen sequel by Miranda Markwell. This was actually the pick for my book club in October, I think. So I am a month behind on my book club picks, but I liked it. Okay, the thing is, I am actually not a big Jane Austen fan. I feel like she's a classic and just everybody loves her books, and I don't, and that's a whole other story. I have my reasons. So this book is not written by Jane Austen, clearly, but it's It's kind of a spin-off of Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility. Sense and Sensibility was talking primarily about Eleanor and Marianne and their stories, and the youngest Dashwood sister, Margaret, is the person who is featured in this book. I feel like it was a good light read, especially, you know, with some of the other heavier things that I've been reading, but it's not one that I was necessarily like so excited to pick up every time, but I enjoyed it. I feel like it took me about halfway through before it started to pick up a little bit for me, but I liked the overall story. I liked some of the themes that it brought up. I liked that it kind of continued a little bit with, I just said their names. What are their names? Eleanor and Marianne, even though primarily it was about Margaret. I liked some of the other characters that they brought in. I think I mostly just didn't love the writing style. What I'm curious about is if the writing style is similar to Jane Austen. It's been so long since I've read a Jane Austen, I would not be able to say that with confidence, but I was like, oh, I'm curious if Miranda Markwell was trying to not copy her writing style, but just try to make it feel like the same vibe. And since I don't love the vibe of Jane Austen, maybe that's kind of why I didn't like it. But I'm curious if any of you guys are Jane Austen fans, and if you've read this book, I would be very curious to hear your thoughts on it and how it compares as far as style. Also, I'm such a hand talker. I'm nervous that I'm going to spill my coffee because my laptop is in my lap. So hopefully, you know, maybe I just need to sip some more so it's not as full whilst I gesticulate wildly. Okay, the next book, Dinner for Vampires, Life on a Cult TV Show by Bethany Joy Lenz. I also did this one on audio. This is a memoir from Bethany Joy Lenz. She was one of the actors on One Tree Hill, which I watched back in the day. It's kind of one of my comfort shows because I watched it when my oldest was a baby. And so when I was up at all hours of the night with him over a decade ago, I binge watched One Tree Hill. So I'm actually reading this book made me want to rewatch it, and so I have been rewatching it. So at the time of the show, and prior to that, but during the show, Bethany Joy Lenz, who plays, oh gosh, I'm blanking on her name. Haley, that's her name. She plays Haley on the show. She was in a cult, and this memoir is all about her experiences in the cult and documenting just some of her life and how she got into acting and some about her One Tree Hill experience. The audiobook was fun too because there were a few times where some of the other people from the show or whatnot had little voice cameos in the audiobook. So that was kind of fun. I really enjoyed hearing her story, and I especially liked what she said at the end because I know I've referenced in the past on my channel that I also grew up in a cult, a different cult than the one that she was in. But she says something at the end of her book about that I'm not going to do it justice and I don't have a copy with me, but something to the effect of that there were times when she would wonder like, but was it really a cult and it wasn't as bad? Or, you know, usually when people think cult, they think like a commune or they think, you know, XYZ, and her experience and my experience was not commune or these things. And then being able to step back and be like, no, it was that bad. It actually was a cult. And it just reminded me a lot of my own experience over the years and similar thoughts that I have had, and just kind of second guessing your own experiences and what you've been through. And then when you think about it and you're like, no, that's what it was. And so it was really, I really appreciated hearing from her and hearing how she got out of that and created a life for herself and for her daughter. And yeah, it was a really good biography, and I recommend the audiobook version. The next book, Truly Madly Deeply by Alexandria Bellefleur. I should probably, with my history of pronouncing names on my channel, I should probably confirm how to pronounce her name. Okay, I just watched a YouTube video where they interviewed the author. That's always my go-to. And let me try again. The next book I read was Truly Madly Deeply by Alexandria Bellefleur. This was a romance, and I picked this up deliberately because I wanted something quick and fast and easy to read to hopefully help get me out of this reading slump. And I liked it overall. I have been trying ever since I finished it to figure out how and what I wanted to say in this review. Okay, so the reason I didn't adore it is because I don't love personally, when a character seems to be one way, and then in, let's just say, perhaps a spicy scene, the character is completely different. And that's kind of what happened in this. I was expecting, there was so much buildup of this is what the characters are like, and then it was just different. So It kind of lost me some in there. Oh, I guess I should give a description of what this book is about. Okay, this book is about a woman named Truly Livingston, and she is a romance author. In the very beginning of the book, she finds her fiance cheating on her, and she is now faced with the reality of being a romance author who writes happily ever afters, and now she doesn't even know if happily ever afters are real. She agrees to go on a podcast hosted by one of her friends, where she will be interviewed as the expert in happily ever afters, and her friend was also interviewing her brother, who is a family lawyer and does a lot of divorce cases. This lawyer's name is Colin, and of course, since it's a romance book, sparks fly, romance ensues, backstory gets delved into. It's a bit of an enemies to lovers type of situation. Not super enemies to lovers, but it has that vibe. I enjoyed it. It served its purpose for what... Sorry, I just thought I spilled the coffee. It served its purpose for what I was looking for at that time. The next book I read was The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. This is a book that I had heard about for forever, but I basically had no idea what it was about. This book is set in South Carolina in 1964, and it follows the story of Lily Owens. And we find out pretty early on that she has some very... what's the word? Stunted memory? That's not the word I'm thinking of. What word am I thinking of? Stunted memories. No. Sporadic. That's closer. Spotty? I'll go with that. Spotty memories from when she was about 5 years old and the night that her mother died. Ever since then, she's been taken care of by a Black woman named Rosaline. And one afternoon, when she and Rosaline are going to get Rosaline registered to vote, Rosaline ends up standing up for herself and insulting 3 of the most racist men in town. She gets put in jail, and Lily decides to try to break her out of jail, and the 2 of them run away. Lily takes them to this town that she has heard of because she thinks that this town and maybe some people there might hold some of the secrets to what happened to her mom all those years ago, which I think I forgot to say. I think at the time of the story present day, I believe that Lily is 11. In this town, Lily meets one of the women specifically that she's looking for, and these 3 sisters take in Rosaline and Lily, and they introduce her to the Black Madonna, and Black Madonna is the key to unlocking Lily's past. I still don't really know what I think about this book. It was a good story. I think the part I'm still pondering and my concern / criticism is it just felt like an interesting choice to be a story that so prevalently focused on Black lives and experiences that then the main character was a white girl. I think the story could have been told in a much more profound way if it was from Rosaline's point of view. It made me just feel a little off. I don't know that this is the book that I would go to or recommend at all for learning about some of these themes. I think that race and the civil rights era is too important a topic to de-center Black voices in that way. When, yes, Lily's story and her trying to find out what happened to her mom and find healing, that it's a very important story to be told. It felt like the author was trying to combine too many things. It was just an odd combination with such heavy themes. Hopefully that conveys what I am thinking as I am still processing this book. The last book that I read in November was another audiobook, and that is The Reason I Jump, The Inner Voice of a 13-Year-Old Boy with Autism by Naoki Higashida. This book was written by a 13-year-old boy with autism who is nonverbal, and he just answers a series of questions in this book, including why do you jump? Why do people with autism talk loudly? Why do you line up cars in a certain order? Why don't you make eye contact when talking? It is a short book, and each section is not very long, but it just kind of gives a glimpse into the mind of a person with autism. I think a lot of these questions are things that people might think often, or a lot of things that people just don't understand. The book challenges a lot of assumptions about autistic people. And yeah, it was just a really good read hearing from a autistic person themselves about their experience. Okay, December reading. Okay, here's the situation. I can feel myself getting out of my book slump. Yay, I'm so happy. However, I am still behind in my book club reads. So I am so close to finishing, hopefully for sure this week, I will finish my November book club pick. Why do I always stumble over that phrase? Book club pick. and that is By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. I am really enjoying it. I am 3/4 of the way through, and yes, as I said, I should finish that here soon. The December book club pick is The Small and the Mighty by Sharon McMahon. I honestly don't think I'm going to get to it this month because I'm already behind on my books, and with Christmas and holidays and busyness, I don't think it's gonna happen. So I am already giving myself permission to not read it. It does look very interesting, so I'm going to leave it on my TBR and get to it at some point, but I'm pretty sure that's not happening this month. I did start reading the 12-week Year for Writers, and I am intrigued by the concept. It's too soon to say whether or not I am going to love the method, but I'm very intrigued. I started reading Frankenstein, and by that I mean I'm one chapter in, so I just started reading Frankenstein. What else am I reading? Oh, and I'm reading the second Percy Jackson book. I read the first one a handful of months ago and I loved it. So I thought, what better way to continue to try to get out of this book slump than to read another quick and easy read, a middle grade book that's just fun. So I'm really enjoying this one as well. I'm really excited. I'm excited for the end of the year. I'm excited for the new year. I'm excited for all the books to read in 2025. And again, since this has just been a wild season and with, just the holidays and everything, I think I'm only going to get one more video out on my channel this month, and that is going to be my end of year tag, where I am compiling all the fun stats for my reading for the year and also answering some of the questions about my top reads, my top favorite characters, I don't know, all of those fun reads as I reflect over my last year of reading. But that is all I have for now. Let me know in the comments, what was your favorite read from November? Are you also in a reading slump, and how's that going for you? And I hope the rest of your December is wonderful, and until next time, happy reading.